Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to make this braided wire macrame bracelet. And it looks like this. So it looks like this all the way around, and I've just chosen to use a copper and a silver wire to get a different effect. You can obviously use whatever you want to. And this is just basic macrame, square knot macrame, in lengths, and then I've braided them together using a 4-strand braid. So it's quite simple and easy techniques used for this. Just put together to make this bracelet. So if you want to learn how to make this, then keep watching. And these are the things that we'll need to make this bracelet. Now the wire that I'm using are these two, and I've just chosen to work with a silver and a copper colour, but they're both the same gauge, and that's a 0.6mm gauge, so we're only working with this gauge of wire. And also they're both a regular round wire. And also what I'm using here are some ribbon ends. They look like this, and these are 30mm ribbon ends. And these are what we're going to use to finish off the ends of the bracelet. And then obviously we'll need whatever findings you want to use, and also a basic selection of some pliers. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. And then what we need to do first is we need to cut our wire. In this case I have one length here, and this is going to be the holding wire that we're going to use. And we need about 40 centimeters of this. It's basically just enough to run through your macrame work that you're going to be doing. And also I'm going to be using my macrame board. I'm going to be working on that, so it's just long enough so I can use that on the short length of the macrame board, so it's going to reach and I'm going to be able to attach it to that. So we need that length, and then I've got a long length here of the same wire, and this is going to be our working wire. Of this I'm going to be using about 3 meters, so that's quite a bit, but obviously it's macrame, so it's going to take up a fair bit of wire. And it's also a bit to work with, but if you just take your time and do it slowly, then it will be fine. So we need this as well. So this is going to form one length of macrame work. So we need this 4 times over. So in my case I'm going to be doing 2 of these in copper. So we need actually 4 of each of these lengths in total. And then also I'm going to be doing 2 in the silver colour. How you want to do that is completely up to you, of course. But this is just what we need for each section of macrame. And then we need this times 4. So I'm going to get my short length first, and then I'm just going to attach that to my board here. So using these slots at the top and all the way around, and just put your wire in, just so it's going to stay there nice and securely while we're working with it. Same thing, make sure it's not got too many kinks or anything, so just run it through your fingers gently, and then come down to the bottom and do the same. Just so we can start working with it, and we don't have to worry too much about this holding wire kind of moving around on us. So like this, now that's attached. So what we need to do now is then attach the long working wire. So to do this we need to obviously get it out, and like I said, it is a long length to work with, but just take your time. And then what I've done is I've put both ends together and then just roughly found where the middle is. So here, you don't have to bend it too much, just a little bit. And then we need to put one end of our wire underneath the holding wire, and then get that all the way through. So we get where we found where roughly the middle is, where I've got my fingers here. That needs to be underneath the holding wire. So like this. So this is just like regular macrame. We're going to be doing just a square knot. The only difference is that we're working with wire. So that's what's going to make it a little bit different, because obviously wire reacts a little bit differently than cord does, or quite a bit differently. We have to be a little bit more careful as well. So to attach it we need to just do a square knot. We have this underneath the holding wire. So I'm going to start on my left side. You can start on the other side if you want, that doesn't matter. But I take my left one over that holding wire. Try and make sure that your wire stays underneath, roughly the middle of your working wire stays underneath your holding wire. That's where you can use the slots as well. Your macrame board is quite handy. And then bring that over like this. Then you take the other side, so the length from the right side. It's just a bit fiddly until you kind of get it fastened down, because it's still obviously all loose here, it's moving about. And then we get the right side over the left one you just brought over, underneath everything in the middle here, and then up through the loop. And this is a regular square knot, so if you're not too familiar with that, what I've done is I have a video on how to do basic macrame knots, so you can go and have a look at that. I'll put a link to that in the description box. and it might be helpful. It's the exact same principle, it's just a different material that we're working with. And then I've got this, and I'm going to be tightening it just gently. Make sure to try and keep the middle of your working wire in the same place. So like this, that's the first half. You do the other half of the square knot. So now we take the right side over, and actually working with the wire here, I find it quite useful, especially using the macrame board, because I'm using the slots a lot to put, because it's such long lengths, it makes it easier to work with. So we put the right side over. Now I'm going to take my left wire, bring it over that one, and then underneath everything in the middle and up through the loop. So just like this, and then we tighten them like this, so it comes right underneath the first one we did, and this is your first square knot. So now the working wire is attached to a holding wire, and basically that was the first square knot. We're basically going to be doing the exact same thing now. The only difference is it's already attached now, so it's going to be a little bit less fiddly to work with because the wire's attached, so it's not moving around so much. But obviously we've still got long lengths to work with, so just, especially at the beginning, just take your time, do it, try and avoid getting kinks and that in your wire. So I'm going to bring my left one over again. Just going to show you one more time. So we get this loop on this side, and then take the wire from the right side, bring that over, the one you just brought over, and then underneath everything in the middle and up through the loop, and then pull it all the way through like this. And then you want to tighten it, and just try and make sure you tighten it evenly on both sides, so like that. And then what I kind of like to do when I tighten my knots is run the wire through my fingers like this, because that's going to help not give it weird shapes and too many kinks and bends in the wire, so less likely to kind of break while we're working with it or cause damage to the wire. So that's the first half. We need to do the other half as well. So get your right one over, and then take the wire from the left side, bring it over that one, so over this, and then underneath everything in the middle and up through the loop. And pull everything through till you get them about even, like this, and then tighten that. And run your fingers over the wire just to smooth it out. So like that, and that's the very next square knot. And it's just a matter of keep doing this. Try and make sure you get your tension even. So I like to pull it with a decent strength. Obviously you don't want to pull it too hard, because if you have a bit of damage to some of the wire, you can actually, it might snap on you. But that's why doing these kind of things will help avoid that. But just try and make sure you have an even tension throughout the whole thing, because then you'll get a nice even look to the whole piece of macrame. And then you can easily just move this up and down, even a lot easier than if you're working with cord actually. It moves up and down the holding wire very easily. So you just want to continue doing your square knots all the way until you used up all of your working wire here. So just keep doing this, and then I'll show you the next step. So I've continued now until I'm almost out of space here on my holding wire. I'm just going to continue until I can't do any more. Obviously I'm just using the width of the macrame board here, but in total the length of this is going to be about 25 centimeters, so the length of macrame that I've made. But really it doesn't really matter if the length is precise for what you need. Rather have a bit too long, because then you can always cut it down to the length that you need it to be. Because it can be hard to know exactly how long you need this, because once we do the braid, remember that that's going to take up some of the length. So you need to make it longer than you would need to just go around your wrist once. And then also what I just want to say is, when you do macrame with wire in general, what I kind of recommend to use is a softer wire rather than say a hard wire. It's just a lot easier to work with. This is my personal preference. And also I feel it's less likely to break or snap as well, because it has a bit more flexibility in it. But then I'm just going to completely fill this out until I can't do any more, and then we need to start making the braid. So now that I've reached the full length here and I can't do any more work on my board, I'm just going to take it off, because we're basically done doing the macrame part now. You should just straighten out your holding wire if you need to. And this is the final length of a macrame. And then obviously we just have these ends left. But what I'm just going to do is get rid of them. And I'm just going to do that by just taking one side at a time. And this one is kind of coming out towards the back here. So I'm going to continue around. And then right below the last knot, I'm just going to go around that holding wire just about once or so. And then take my cutters, cut the end off close to where it's wrapping around, and then just squeeze that very end down with my chain nose pliers, just so we don't have anything sticking out and catching on us really while we're still working with it, because chances are, well, this end, either this end is going to be inside the ribbon ends we're going to use, or we're going to even cut it off if we have too long a length. So either way, don't have to worry too much about it. Just enough so you don't obviously catch yourself and scratch yourself while you're working with it. And then the other one, do the same thing. Just wrap it around once. And then cut it down. And just squeeze it in. Just like this. So there we now have a finished length. And that's the one of them. So what we need is we need 4 in total, and I've already prepared the rest. So I've got 2 of my copper, and then I've got 2 of my silver, and that's what I'm going to be using for this braid, because it's a 4-strand braid and I just have 2 of each colour. And I've just made sure that they're all roughly about the same length. So now we have all 4 of our macrame pieces ready here, of the wire. We need to basically get them ready so we can start making the braid. So I'm just going to grab them all at one end here, and we just need to attach them together just so they're all fastened together. It's easier to start out the braid. I'm just going to take them one at a time, place them together at the top here. Doesn't really matter how you do it. And then I'm just going to use the holding wires just to kind of twist together, and this is just temporary really, so it doesn't really matter, you don't have to worry about it being neat. It's literally just to hold them together to make it easier to braid. So something like this, and then we have all 4 of our lengths fastened together at the top, and then now we can start making the braid. Now what I'm doing for this bracelet is a 4-strand braid, because I've got 4 strands, 4 lengths of my macrame here. And I have made a video previously that shows in detail how to do a regular 4-strand braid with cord. So it's the same technique we're going to be using. So it might be helpful if you can go have a look at that if you want to. But I'm going to show you how to do it here as well. So what we need to do is I just put my 2 copper in the middle and then 2 silver on the outside. Doesn't really matter how you do it, but that's just what I've done. And then what we need to do is start to make the braid. And we do this by we need to always bring the outside ones into the middle, but in opposite directions. So I'll explain that. So from the right side, I'm bringing that over the next one into the middle there of the 2 copper, and then one on the other side, on the last side, I bring that under the copper one into the middle, and then we need to cross the 2 silver ones over in the middle. So the one that went over on the right side needs to go under the other one, so like that. And don't worry about the beginning, it's probably going to be a little bit messy or it's not going to look proper yet. It's just until we get it going properly. So like that. And now we need to repeat that again, but the only thing is the colours have changed place, as you can see. So that means the right one goes over the next one into the middle. The left one goes under the next one and into the middle. And just make sure when you do your braid that your macrame pieces, that it lies flat. So you don't want it to kind of twist around and go like this. Just make sure it lies flat, and then that's how you're going to achieve that nice neat look. And then the couple ones in the middle here need to also cross over, but the opposite way. So that means the right one that went over the outside one needs to come under the other one. So like this. And just take your time maneuvering everything into place so it sits how you want it to sit, like this. And the next one, same thing again. The right one goes over the next one into the middle of the copper. The left one goes under and into the middle. And then you just want to maneuver it so it sits how you want it to sit. And the two middle ones, now the silver ones, also need to cross, so they do opposite of what they did on the outside. The right one went over, so it needs to go under, like that. And then just as you go, make sure everything sits in place how you want it to sit. So just like this. So that's why just take your time while you're doing this. Make sure everything kind of looks nice and neat. You keep the same distance between things, and then just keep going doing the same thing. So over to the middle, the other one under to the middle, and then they need to cross the opposite way in the middle. So like this. So once you braid all the way down to the ends of your wire, your macrame part, it's going to end up looking a little something like this. So basically this is now the main part of the bracelet done, so all that's left to do is finish off the ends here. And to do that, what I'm going to be using are these ribbon ends. And these specific ones are 30mm in size, so they're going to fit this bracelet and be able to be within it. So what we need to do is use these to finish off both of the ends. So I'm just going to show you how I do it on the one end, because it's the same on both ends. And what you might find is that you have one length of your macrame part here that's the shortest. And now what you want to do is get rid of the rest as well, so whatever's the shortest, make the others the same length, which is why I said it's hard to know exactly how long they need to be because of what you use up in the braid. But that's why you just cut off the excess here. So I'm going to go in and use my cutters and just take the guideline from that shortest one that I have, go across the rest of them, and just start cutting off them, cutting them down. So just go all the way across, a bit at a time, don't take too much wire at a time. So you don't want to go all the way in the middle and start cutting, because you can damage your cutters, whether it's your wire cutters or flush cutters. But just take a little bit at a time, working your way all the way across. So now that I've cut it down and it's pretty straight across, you need to bring in one of our ribbon ends here, and then what I'm going to get out is some glue as well. And I like to use my E6000 for this. And also, I always use just a toothpick to apply it with. So I'm going to open it up, get a little bit on the toothpick, and don't add too much, rather too little, because you can always add some more. And then I want to get some inside of this ribbon end, because it looks like this from the side. There's like a little crocodile mouth with kind of some teeth on it. And then get your glue into there. You want to coat the sides all the way along, and then go down to the bottom of it as well, because that's going to then grab onto the wire and make it really nice and secure. But that's why I said you don't want to put too much, because it's just going to come spilling out anyway, but just enough to coat the inside there. And then I'm also going to take the end of my piece and I want to put a bit of glue on here as well. Just get the excess off if you have any. I'll just take a bit of fresh glue. And again, don't worry about putting too much on. The purpose of this is to get some glue on the end here, but basically get it, because it's macrame, get it in between all the knots and all the wires, because then that's going to adhere to the sides of the ribbon end and then really cause a very nice tension there for it to grab onto. So the glue is really going to grab onto each other basically from each item. So just get in there in between just until you're happy with that. And what we need to do now is then grab the ribbon end, make sure that these wires sit exactly how you want them to sit, and then we want to get them inside here. Just work your way. Just, if you need to just push anything in place, do that, and then put them in there so they then sit where you want them to sit. Something a bit like this. Check from the other side if you're happy with it. Make sure that it's sitting on straight. So if you're kind of looking from this angle, make sure it kind of sits straight like this. And now what we need to do is clamp it down. So for this I'm going to get out just some chain nose or flat nose pliers. And then what I like to do is hold the piece in my hand and then use my thumb and my other finger to then grab on the sides and then start clamping it down. Just start from one side and don't go all the way down straight away. Do gentle small pushes across it from one side to the other, a bit at a time like this. And then before you completely get to the end, just double check to make sure it still sits on there straight. And if you're happy with that, then you can start clamping it down using more force. So you're really getting it nice and secure and getting the glue to properly adhere to each other. And also the ends, just clamp them down so you don't have a big opening there at the end. You can come in from the other side to make sure those teeth as well, as far as possible, they get in between your knots as well. So like this. So now that's nice and secure, this is not moving anywhere. First of all with the clamping, the ribbon end itself, but especially with the glue as well. And obviously once it dries completely, it'll be even more secure. You just want to do this exact same thing to the other end, and then we just need to attach whatever clasp you want to use. So I've now finished off both ends, and I've added my lobster claw clasp and my extended chain using jump rings. You can also use whatever kind of clasp that you want. And then what I just want to show you is this bracelet. The length of it is just over 7 inches. Just about 18.5 centimeters, and obviously we're just going to be bending it as well, so I'll show you the size when it's done, but that's about the length of it. So if you want to just make it longer, you want to make the original pieces of macrame that you make to begin with longer as well, or if you want to make shorter, you can make them shorter, or you can just cut it down once you've made it. Like I said, rather have too much of the macrame, so cut it down, than not enough. So the last thing that we need to do now is shape the bracelet to an oval, or like a round oval shape. So you can either choose something they already have that's the size and the shape that you need to be for your wrist, or you can just gradually use your fingers like this. What I like to do is then kind of start from the middle and then work my way out gradually. So you don't just want to go in one place and make a big bend, you want to gradually do it gently all the way across, and then you'll gradually start to see it curves more and more and turns into an oval bracelet shape. And then just keep doing this until it holds a shape how you want it to be. Get the ends in here as well so they meet up like this, and just keep doing this. Now it is a bit flexible, this quite flexible because it's a 0.6mm wire that we use, so it's not like a really thick gauge where it's quite strong and holds its shape. It will hold its shape, this, but it's at the same time still quite flexible. Hence why it's a bit springy. So you just want to do this and kind of overbend it a bit. So I want it to maybe sit like this, but if I just let go, it's going to spring back out. So I just need to overbend it a little bit, making sure to keep the curve though, and just so that it's more likely to stay in place. So you can see we're slowly getting there now. So just until it has the exact size and shape that you want it to be. But also with it being quite flexible, it's quite nice and comfortable to wear. But because of all the macrame we've done, it's basically a bit like wire weaving. It becomes really strong at the same time. So you have the flexibility, but at the same time it's still really strong. Then this is pretty much it. And then this is your final bracelet. You got your clasp that you can close like this, so it's adjustable, which is also good for the flexibility of it. With it being adjustable, it's easier to then have a different size. If it was too sturdy, you would have to physically kind of open it out or close it in. But this is quite flexible, so it's easier to then change the size of it. But then this is your finished bracelet, all the way around. Really nice effect to it. And obviously I just used the copper and the silver. You don't have to. You can use all the same colour. or even more different colours, is completely up to you. But then this is how you make it. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this triple row wire macrame bracelet. And this is it. So this is how it looks, and I've just chosen these beads, some purple coated hematite and then copper wire, but obviously you can choose whatever combination you want. So it looks like this, and you get this kind of cuff style bracelet because you have the rigidity from the wire, but it's still a basic macrame technique, just with wire instead of cord.